Before we begin today's story, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss the real stories behind Hollywood's biggest names. For millions of viewers in the late 80s and 90s, Sarah Gilbert became a familiar presence. On living room screens across the world, her role as the sharp, sarcastic Darlene Connor brought a fresh kind of humor to sitcom television, but behind the jokes and applause was a young girl growing up under weight most people never saw. Sarah's journey was never as easy as the laughter made it look. She was the child of a Hollywood family, surrounded by expectations long before she understood them. And today, we look beyond the fame to uncover the complicated truth of her life. Sarah Rebecca Abelies was born on January 29, 1975, in Santa Monica, California, into a family deeply connected to show business. Her mother, Barbara Cowan, worked as a producer and talent manager, while her grandfather, Harry Crane, wrote one of TV's earliest classics, The Honeymooners. Stories about Hollywood success were part of her childhood, but so were the pressures that came with it. Sarah felt the weight of a legacy she barely understood, watching her adopted siblings, Melissa and Jonathan Gilbert, become stars on Little House on the Prairie only added fuel to her dreams. She craved that spotlight not for attention but to prove she belonged. At just 5 years old, she took her first step into acting with a Kool-Aid commercial. For many kids, school is a struggle, but for Sarah it felt like a cage. She later admitted she felt bored, disconnected, and out of place in traditional classrooms. Acting became her escape, the one space where she could express herself freely. Working with tutors gave her the freedom she had longed for, yet behind her early ambition was a sense of loneliness. Her siblings were already successful, and Sarah often felt like she was playing catch-up. She wanted to prove she was just as talented, just as capable, and just as worthy of the Gilbert name she eventually adopted. That drive stayed with her throughout her youth, and it would push her into the role that changed everything. In 1988, at just 13 years old, Sarah landed the role of Darlene Connor on Roseanne, a show that quickly became one of the most influential sitcoms of its era. Millions watched her transform from a tomboyish kid into a thoughtful, artistic teen. Her dry humor and authenticity made her a standout. Critics took notice, giving her Young Artist Awards and Emmy nominations. She even wrote an episode herself, proving she had talent beyond acting. But fame at that age is rarely easy. Most teens get to make mistakes in private. Sarah faced hers in front of cameras, crew, and an audience of millions. And while she was loved on screen, real life felt far lonelier. Sarah often described herself as painfully shy during her teen years. Fame did boost her confidence. It made her retreat further. Even years later, while filming she admitted she would hide from studio tour groups because she was nervous about strangers watching her. Her life on Roseanne brought success, but it also amplified her insecurities. She loved acting, but the constant public attention felt overwhelming. It was during this time that she also began thinking seriously about education. She didn't want to be just another child actor. She wanted more than people expected. And so, she made a decision few teenage stars dared to make. She applied to Yale University. Balancing Yale with a hit TV show pushed Sarah to her limits. She filmed in California, studied in Connecticut, and lived on airplanes and trains. Every Thursday, she would fly across the country to film Roseanne, then rush back by Sunday night to make it to class. The schedule was brutal, but she refused to let her schoolwork or acting suffer. Her work ethic was remarkable, even as exhaustion crept in. Behind that determination, however, another internal conflict was rising. While filming the show, Sarah entered her first romantic relationship, and it forced her to confront a truth she had been afraid to face. On screen, Darlene and David were one of TV's favorite couples. Off screen, Sara and Johnny Gilkey also became romantically involved. Like many teens, they explored a young, innocent relationship, but something felt wrong to Sara. Instead of happiness, she felt confused and depressed. She didn't understand why the affection didn't feel natural. After months of inner turmoil, she realized the truth: she was gay. It was a realization that brought both relief and fear. Hollywood in those years was not welcoming to LGBTQ actors, and Sara feared what coming out might cost her career. Only Johnny knew her secret, and his response changed everything. When Sara confided in Johnny, he didn't reject her. Instead, he offered kindness and unwavering support. Their romance ended, but their friendship grew stronger. Years later, when Sara prepared to share the story publicly on The Talk, she asked Johnny's permission to reveal their past. He told her he loved her, was proud of her, and would be right beside her if she needed him. Even today, their bond remains one of mutual respect and deep affection. But despite the support, Sara continued to hide her sexuality from Hollywood for years. The fear of being typecast, or worse, losing work altogether, kept her silent. Every private moment felt like a risk. For nearly 2 decades, Sara guarded her personal life carefully. She entered her first same-sex relationship in secret, terrified that being honest would damage the career she had spent her life building. When she finally came out publicly in 2010, the world saw a confident, articulate woman. But inside, she still worried about judgment and consequences. She confessed that even after coming out, a part of her wondered what it might cost her. Yet it also freed her in a way she never expected. She no longer had to hide. She could finally be herself. And with that honesty came new love, new stability, and a new era in her personal life. For 10 years, Sara built a loving home with writer Allison Adler. Together, they welcomed 2 children into their family, Levi in 2004 and Sawyer in 2007. To the outside world, it looked like Sara had finally found the peaceful life she had spent years searching for. But in 2011, their relationship came to an end. Sara spoke with raw emotion on The Talk, questioning whether love was truly meant to last forever. The breakup shook her deeply, even though the split was described as amicable. Reports later suggested Adler was heartbroken by how quickly Sara moved on. And once again, Sara found herself dealing with public expectations while coping with private pain. Soon after her breakup, Sara began a relationship with musician Linda Perry, best known as the voice behind 4 Non-Blondes. Their romance was passionate and public. In 2013, Perry staged an unforgettable proposal complete with music, surprise performers, and a moment Sara described as magical. They married the following year and welcomed their son, Rhodes, in 2015. For a while, Sara believed she had finally found the partner who understood her completely. On television, she talked openly about feeling safer and more grounded in marriage. But as life often proves, happiness can be fragile. And soon, cracks began to appear. In 2019, Sara filed for legal separation from Perry, citing irreconcilable differences. The split devastated her. She later admitted undergoing therapy and even ketamine treatments to cope with the emotional pain. Perry tried to reassure the public that they'd always be family, but the heartbreak was undeniable. For Sara, losing another long-term partner reopened old wounds. And with 3 children to care for, the pressure became overwhelming. She continued working, pushing through the emotional storm, but behind the scenes, she was exhausted. Once again, personal challenges collided with a demanding career, forcing her to make difficult decisions. Around this same time, tragedy from Sara's past resurfaced. Glenn Quinn, who played Mark Healy on Roseanne, had died in 2002 from a heroin overdose at just 32 years old. The news devastated the cast, especially Sara, who had shared many scenes and memories with him. Glenn's struggles with addiction had escalated after the show ended. When the Roseanne reboot was announced in 2018, Sarah suggested naming her character's son Mark. As a tribute to him, Johnny Galecki agreed without hesitation. It was their way of keeping Glenn's memory alive. The moment was emotional and meaningful for both of them. But just as the reboot seemed ready for success, another storm hit. In 2018, Roseanne Barr posted a racist tweet that triggered immediate backlash. ABC canceled the show within hours. Sarah was one of the first cast members to publicly condemn the comment, calling it abhorrent. Barr felt betrayed and accused Sarah of ruining her life and career. Their relationship never recovered. The show's legacy was tarnished. The controversy left deep scars on the cast and overshadowed the nostalgic excitement fans once felt. For Sarah, it was yet another reminder that fame can turn on you in an instant, and the fallout was emotionally draining. While dealing with the scandal, Sarah was also juggling her duties on the Connors, producing behind the scenes and co-hosting the talk. Add to that her responsibilities as a mother of 3, and her life became a nonstop whirlwind. Eventually, something had to give. In April 2019, she tearfully announced she was leaving the talk after 9 years. She explained that her life was out of balance and she needed to prioritize her children. The pressure of discussing her private life on national television had grown overwhelming. Leaving the show wasn't easy, but it was necessary. It was her moment to finally take back control. In interviews after her departure, Sarah admitted she felt relieved. She had always been a private person, and being forced to reveal personal struggles on live TV took a toll on her mental health. Stepping away allowed her to reclaim some peace. Her physical health had also suffered. After giving birth to her 3rd child, she realized she had stopped taking care of herself entirely. In 2017, she began a simple routine of walking, jogging, and occasional yoga to rebuild her strength. Even 15 minutes a day made a difference. It reminded her that self-care wasn't optional, it was essential. But the emotional burdens were harder to shake. Her divorce from Perry became final in 2021. Sarah admitted publicly that the healing process was long and painful. She relied on therapy, support from friends, and self-reflection to rebuild her life. She spoke openly about wanting to live a more authentic, grounded life. Even though she acknowledged things do get better, she also admitted that deep emotional wounds never fully disappear. This honesty made many viewers admire her even more. She did pretend to have all the answers. Instead, she shared her struggles with vulnerability, and in doing so, she helped others facing similar challenges feel less alone. Through all the heartbreak, public scrutiny, and professional demands, Sarah continued working steadily. She remained dedicated to her craft, balancing acting with producing and raising her children. She didn't rely on fame to define her. Instead, she focused on stability, creativity, and family. Her journey proved that resilience isn't about avoiding pain. It's about surviving it with honesty and grace. Even as the entertainment industry shifted around her, Sarah stayed grounded. She understood the price of fame better than most, and she learned to protect her peace at all costs. That strength became her greatest achievement. Looking back, Sarah Gilbert's life is not marked by one single tragedy. It is the accumulation of pressures, heartbreaks, and losses that shaped her into the woman she is today. From childhood expectations to identity struggles, from painful breakups to the loss of a beloved co-star, her story is layered and deeply human. Yet through all of it, she remained dedicated to her work and her family. She kept moving forward even when the world felt heavy. And she continued to share her truth, even when it was difficult. Her courage in being vulnerable became one of the most inspiring parts of her journey. Today, Sarah Gilbert continues to live life on her own terms, raising her children, working selectively, and prioritizing privacy and peace. Her story reminds us that behind every celebrity is a human being carrying invisible burdens. She faced fame, identity crises, heartbreak, and loss, yet emerged with strength and authenticity. What do you think about Sarah Gilbert's journey? Do you admire the way she faced her challenges? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss stories about Hollywood's most unforgettable stars.